Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 51 to 53. Buddhya Vishuddhaya Yukto Trityatmanam Niyamya Cha Saptadin Vishayam Styaktva Ragadvesho Vyudashya Cha Vivikta Sevi Lagvasi Yata Vak Kayamanasaha Dhyana Yoga Paro Nityam Vairagyam Samupashrita Ahankaram Balam Darpam Kamam Krodam Parigraham Vimuchya Nirmama Shanto Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate.
Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, one who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization.
Text 54. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Sochati Na Kamshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param.
One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me.
Text 55. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavam yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato jnatva vishatate tad anantaram.
One who can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God.
Text 56. Sarva karmani api sada kurvanu mad vyapashrayah mad prasadat avapnoti shashwatam padam avyayam.
Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee, under my protection, reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace.
Text 57. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogam upashritya macchitta satatam bhava.
In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me.
Text 58. Macchitta sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishyasi atha chet tvam ahankaram nashosyasi vinakshyasi.
If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
Text 59. Yad ahankaram ashritya nayutsya iti manyase mithyasa vyavasayaste prakritisvam niyokshyati.
If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare.
Text 60. Swabhavajena kunteya nibandha swena karmana kartum nichasi yam yanmoha karishyasi avashopitat.
Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction. But compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti.
Text 61. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridi desharjuni tishtati brahmayam sarva bhutani yantra ruttani mayaya.
The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjun, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy.
Text 62. Tam evam sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata tat prasadat param santim sthanam prapshyasi shashvatam.
O scion of Bharat, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode.
Text 63. Iti te jnanam akyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimrashya tad asheshena yate chasi tatha kuru.
Thus, I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do.
Text 64. Sarva guhyatmamam bhuya shrinu me paramam vacha ishtosi me dridam iti tato vakshyami te hitam.
Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit.
Text 65. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mama namaskuru mam evasyashi satyam te pratijane priyosi me.
Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend.
Text 66. Sarva dharman parityajya mamam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha.
Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear.
Text 67. Idam te nata pakshaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha shushusavev vachyam na cha mam yo vyashuyati.
This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me.
Text 68. Ya idam paramam guhyam madbhakteshva abhidashyati bhakti mai param kritva mam avashyati asamsayaha.
For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me.
Text 69. Nacha tasman mayusheshu kaschin me priyakritamaha bhavita nacha me tasmad anyaha priyataro bhuvi.
there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear.
Text 70. Adyeshyate cha ya imam dharmyam samvadam abhayoh jnanam yagnena tenaham ishtashyam iti me mati.
And I declare that one who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence.
Text 71. Shraddhavan anasuyascha shrinuyad apiryo naraha so api muktah shubhal lokan prapnuyad punya karmanam.
And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell.
Text 72. Kachid etat shutam partha tvaya kagrena chetasa kachid ajnana samoha pranastaste dhananjaya.
O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled?
Text 73. Arjunu vacha nashto moha smritir labda tvat prasadan maya chuta stitosmin kata sandeha karishye vajanam tava.
Arjun said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and am prepared to act according to your instructions.
Text 74. Sanjayu vacha iti aham vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmanaha samvadam imam ashrosam adbhutam romaharshanam.
Sanjay said, thus have I heard the conversations of two great souls, Krishna and Arjun. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end.
Text 75. Vyasa prasadat shutavana etad guhyam aham param yogam yogeshwarat krishnat shakshat katayata swayam.
By the mercy of Vyas, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjun.
Text 76. Rajan samsmritya samvadam imam adbhutam Keshavarjuna yo punya rishyami cha muhu.
O King, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjun, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment.
Text 77. Tacha samsmritya rupam ati adbhutam hareha vishmayo me mahan rajan rishyami cha punaha.
O King, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again.
Text 78. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama.
Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjun, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjun Samvade Moksha Sannyasa Yogo Nam Ashto Dasho Adhyayaha. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Apologies for
Hare
any
Krishna.
mistakes. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Wonderful, wonderful, very, very nice recitation. Sharad Prabhu, of course, perfect English as usual. And Hema Mataji, very, very nice recitation in Sanskrit. I'm so happy everybody's feeling so fluent with the Sanskrit verses. Excellent. Thank you so much, both of you. So just stop sharing that now. And I will share my presentation. Okay, Hare Krishna devotees. So welcome once again to this chat session. Thursday evening, we're continuing our reading from chapter 18, Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. As usual, we'll go through the summary so far, long chapter. So the verses 1 to 12 was the summary of the karma section of Bhagavad Gita of the first 6 chapters. Then 13 to 18 was a summary of the next section, which is the Jnana section, which is chapter 13 to 17. Then 19 to 40 were detailed information Krishna gives us about the modes controlling all activities. Then 41 to 48 Krishna speaks about karma yoga, so freedom from reaction by occurrence. And then 49 to 55, Krishna spoke about from reaction free work, which means karma yoga, nishkam karma yoga, to jnana yoga, to Brahman platform, and then leading to pure devotion. So text 54 speaks about the Brahma Bhuta stage, and 55 then speaks about entering the spiritual world, my kingdom, Krishna says. And then the current section now is talking about working in pure devotional service. It's a very, very sweet section, this. So Krishna has spoken about how the soul can be elevated through karma first, karma yoga, and then he spoke about also the jnana yoga. So through jnana yoga, one can reach up to the Brahma Bhuta platform. But for devotees, as we know, that is not our aim. Our aim is to go further. So that's why in this section now, leading up to the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is going to speak directly about bhakti. And that is all. That is the aim for all of us. So we will recite today's verse again. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 60. Svabhavayena kaunteya nibaddha svena karmana kartum nechasyan mohat karishyasya vasopitat. Under illusion, so translation of Prabhupada ki jai. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction. but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. So purport, let's a short purport. So let's see if Urmilaben is there. Urmilaben, are you able to unmute yourself and read the purport? I'm not even sure if she's logged in. Yeah. Do you want to read it?
Okay. Is she reading or not?
No, I can't see her.
Okay. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If one refuses to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord, then he is compelled to act by the modes in which he is situated. Everyone is under the spell of a particular combination of the modes of nature and is acting in that way. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasha Kadeshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Short but sweet, very, very meaningful purport. We'll try and just churn the message Prabhupada is giving us for a minute. So, if one refuses to act, this is actually, I'm just wondering, this is from the purport, the text. No, this is from the purport, yes. So Prabhupada is saying, if one refuses to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord, then he is compelled to act by the modes in which he is situated. So there's a very famous verse in the 3rd chapter which talks about this, about how one has to act. One cannot be idle at any time. Anybody remember that verse? 3:5, anybody? Okay, so the verse goes, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtyat yakarma krit karyate yavasya karma sarva prakriti jaya gune. There, this is the karma section of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is explaining everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. So here this verse is very close to what we're reading today, that the living entity is active. We are not passive. The living entity is an active entity, and this is why we need to be active all the time. Even now, sometimes we say, okay, I'm going to just rest for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But that rest, okay, your body may be sitting down or lying down or whatever, but your mind is still active. Mind doesn't rest. Even at night, the reason why we have dreams is because the mind is active. The subtle side of our nature is still working. That's why we're getting dreams. So we're not even actually inactive during sleep. And even if we say, yes, we were inactive, but at any one point, our heart is beating and we're breathing. So activity is always there. We cannot have a situation where we're not acting. So some part of the purport that I picked up here, where Prabhupada is explaining this, it says, it is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. So it's not as the soul is active only when it's in this body. The soul is active all the time. Without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupations dictated by the illusory energy. In contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes. And to purify the soul from such affinities, it is necessary to engage in the prescribed duties enjoined in the Shastras. But if the soul is engaged in his natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. So such amazing instructions here, right? So first of all, yes, we are the soul is like the driver, the body is like a machine. We read 1854, Yantra Rudhani Mayaya, it says, Krishna is saying in that verse, that the living entity, the Supreme Lord is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are sitting as if on a machine made from material energy, machine. So we are all that. This body is dead, but like any machine, like a car cannot do anything by itself. Having said that, we've now got these driverless cars. But even that, I suppose you could say that somebody has to program it to do whatever it does. So a machine cannot act on its own. But when this machine-like body has a soul inside it, yes, it can do everything. It can act everything. So you can see that the soul is the main principle in all living entities. So Krishna is saying this in this purport. If you're not engaged in Krishna consciousness, we will be engaged in occupations dictated by the illusory energy. So it is said that if we are not engaged in the service of Krishna, we will be engaged in the service of Maya. We have to serve, we have to act. We will be acting somehow, one way or the other. So better to serve Krishna rather than serve Maya. That's the point. Because once we are in contact with Maya, which we all are, of course, to a lesser degree or more, we are then bound by these three modes, and that is what keeps causing us this repeated birth and death. But the soul's natural condition, our svabhav, is anandamaya vyasat, Krishna conscious. The soul is eternally happy and is eternally Krishna conscious. So if we engage the soul in that natural function of Krishna consciousness, then Prabhupada says here, whatever he is able to do is good for him. So in that purport of, like in this 3.5, later on in that purport, Krishna quotes this particular verse, 1.5.17, and he's saying that this particular situation is affirmed by this verse in the Bhagavatam. Narad Muni is speaking to, this is the first canto, you can imagine, this is the time when Vyasadeva is still sort of confused about why he's not feeling bliss, despite compiling so many so much literature, like the Vedas, the Upanishad, the Itihasis, even the Vedanta Sutra. He's done all that, but he's still feeling empty. And so Narada is giving him instructions, and then those instructions result in the compilation of the Bhagavatam. So in this verse, Narada is saying to Vyasadeva, Tyaktva swadharmam charana tyaktva sudharmam charanam bhujam hare bhajan apakvo tapate tato yadi yatra kvava bhadram abud amushyakin kovartha apta bhajatam sadharmata. So here, Naraji is saying, one who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. So, as a devotee, even if we fall down, it says here, in an immature stage, there's still no loss. We will cover that a little bit more later on. But let's see what Prabhupada says in the purport of that particular verse in the Bhagavatam. Once again, I've just picked up some parts of the purport. It says, if someone takes to Krishna consciousness, even though he may not follow the prescribed duties in Shastra or execute the devotional service properly, and even though he may fall down from the standards, there is no loss or evil for him. But if he carries out all the injunctions for purification in Shastras, what does it avail him if he is not Krishna conscious? So the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sannyas or any purificatory process is to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. So this is very much a point where you see a lot of people, you see a lot of pious people in this world who are engaged in proper work. They are doing everything according to the Shastras. They follow all the vratas. They do everything right, and everything is good. But if they remain there and they don't progress up to devotional service, then to what avail is it? Krishna says. What is the point here? Prabhupada is saying rather. So it just is just doing your occupation duty. So following the varnas and ashram and following the shastric injunctions of how one is supposed to live. If you just keep doing that, that's good, fair enough. It'll keep you in the mode of goodness. But then if you don't then step forward and move to devotional service, then we are really not going to make progress. We're still going to be in samsara. Albeit because we've been pious, we might be in a good situation in terms of maybe in the heavenly planets or rich family or whatever, but still we are in the samsara. And the key point that Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and Prabhupada in all his purports, he just hammers this point that is not the comfort zone that we want to remain in. We need to move out of that and get back to home, back to Godhead. So in that purport, Prabhupada said that even though he may fall down from the standards, there is no loss or evil from him. Does that remind anybody particular shloka? Even though he may fall down from the standards, the second chapter, Bhagavad Gita, 240. Neha brikamana shosti pratyavayo nabityate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Very important verse, this one. Very, very encouraging for everybody. He says, in this endeavor, which means in the endeavor of devotional service, there is no loss or diminution. And a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So what is the most dangerous type of fear? Anybody?
Hare Krishna,
Yes.
Prabhuji, fear of death.
Rupa Mataji, yes, fear of death. Who would say, yeah, that fear of death, Rupa Mataji, would be for normal people.
Oh, okay.
The average person is always worried that for him that the greatest tragedy is death, right? But okay, think Rupa Mataji, think from a devotee's point of view.
Falling down from the path of devotion.
Yes, exactly. Falling down for the path of devotion and having to take birth again in this material world.
Yes,
That
yes.
is the most dangerous fear. Really speaking, that is the most, everything else in this life doesn't matter. But if we cannot make our life successful and we have to come back in this material world, that is the biggest danger. Because when we come back in the material world, hopefully if we've done devotional service, as we'll see in a minute, hopefully we'll get in a good position and continue. But we should not take the chance, because there are so many distractions in life, as we know. And even if you get to that position, we may still be misled and fall down again. So this is why it's very, very important to save ourselves from this most dangerous type of fear. And here this verse is saying that even a little bit of devotional service will help us from that kind of fall down. Now here in that purport, Prabhupada is saying activity in Krishna consciousness, or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. And this, of course, is talking about karma yoga, which we have learned recently in this chapter. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Now, here's the key thing. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed. Otherwise, the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at a loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%. Whereas in material activity, without 100% success, there is no profit. Such an amazing point here, right? So we have to be assured in our mind that every little thing we do in devotional service is our permanent asset. It is a one-way bank account, spiritual bank account, where money only goes in, it doesn't come out. Materially speaking, whatever pious activities we have done, they are used up. And when they're used up, Shine Punya Mrtya Lokam Vishanti, we are back down, we fall down again. But spiritual bank balance keeps only increasing, only one way. So then, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when he's commenting on the verse for today, he's saying, Krishna herein continues instructing all conditioned souls to surrender to him because it is in their own interest. So this is important. We need to know what is our interest in life. What is really, for a self-realized person means a person who understands the soul being not the body, also understands the soul's relationship with the Lord, and he also understands that my interest, swartha, આપણે स्वार्थ કેમાં છે? गुजराती we say આપણો स्वार्थ किस चीज में हमारा स्वार्थ है, right? So our swartha is mentioned in a beautiful verse in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam. This is Prahlad Maharaj responding to his father, and his father asking questions about what he's learning. And he says, Nate vidu swarthagatim he Vishnu. Swarthagatim, what is our destination? What is our self-interest? Nate vidu swarthagatim he Vishnu. Durashaya ye bahir artha manina. Andayata ande rupaniya manas. Te pisha tantram urudam nibaddha. Translation by Prabhupada. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects cannot understand what is the goal of life, cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in this material life, suffering the threefold miseries. Punah punas charvitanam, Prabhupada says often. So unless we know that this is it, our self-interest is not in the material life, our self-interest is to move on from here. And so very, very, very important, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, that Krishna is now explaining that our own interest is in devotional service. Then this particular point about fruitive action and sense gratification that we just spoke about in the material world, this Rishabh Dev, Lord Rishabh Dev, is when he is in his explanation, in his teachings to his sons, he's explaining this. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yad indriya pritaya apranoti nasadu manye yata atmanoyam asan api kleshada asadeha. When a person considers self-gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after the other. So imagine, so this material body, we've been given this material body because we desired sense gratification. So having this material body, if one doesn't come to the senses that unless I do something about this, I'm going to perpetually keep getting material bodies again. So an intelligent person, a person who has come in contact with Krishna consciousness, does not make this mistake and get indriya prithya apranoti, not just keep attached to sense gratification, because that will keep us in this materialistic life again and again. So Prabhupada then the purport continues, everyone is under the spell of a particular combination of modes of nature and is acting in that way. So again, we just recently did the chapter 13. So 13:22 talks about this particular situation, about Purusha Prakriti Stohi Bhunkta Prakriti Jan Guna Karanam Guna Sangasya Sat Asat Yoni Janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. So, where we take birth, what kind of facilities we have around us, it is all due to our association with the modes of nature, meaning we are trying to enjoy the modes of nature. Remaining in the material world, we're trying to, Prabhupada uses this term quite often, we're trying to load it over material nature. And because of that, we're getting all different kinds of living conditions in different yonis. So, Sat Asad Yoni Janmasu. So good yonis and bad yonis. We're getting birth in good families, bad families, good species, bad species. So this cycle is going on purely because of this attachment to this material nature and the three modes. Prabhupada confirms in the purport how he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It is due to association with the different modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the three modes and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. So again, hammering this point that this particular today's verse is making, that we need to make sure that we do the right things. How the modes affect us is mentioned here in the 14th chapter. Sattvam rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhava Nipatnanti mahabaho dehinam avyayam. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the living entity, when the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, Almighty Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. So Krishna is calling Arjuna Mahabaho, mighty armed. So indirectly he's saying, no matter how strong you are, you will be conditioned by these modes. And the only way, your strength, your material intelligence, your material abilities will not help you get out of this. Only devotional service can. And that purport, Prabhupada just again explaining the living entity, because he's transcendental, has nothing to do with the material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he's acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because living entities have different kinds of bodies in terms of different aspects of nature, they are induced to act according to their nature. This is the cause of the varieties of happiness and distress. So this is just confirmed that point we were making in the 13th chapter. And I think maybe just one last slide, 14:18. It speaks about what is a result of our association with modes of nature. Urdvam gacchati sattvastha madhyatishtanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittista ado gacchati tamasa. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. So this is, again, Prabhupada explains the lowest quality of the material the lowest quality, the mode of ignorance is described here as abominable. The result of developing ignorance is very, very risky. In the lowest quality, in material nature, it is the lowest quality of material nature. Beneath the human level, there are 8 million species of life. So as we know, 8.4 million species of life, out of which only 400,000 are human species, the rest are below, like birds, insects, reptiles, trees, etc. And according to development of the modes of ignorance, people are brought down to those abominable conditions. The word tamasa is very significant here. Tamasa indicates those who stay continuously in the mode of ignorance without rising to the higher modes. Their future is very, very dark. So, of course, devotees, none of us here, fortunately, are in that mode of darkness. But if we're not careful, we can fall back into that mode. And this is why one has to be very, very careful. Devotees, I think maybe there's one more slide. Let's see what that is. Okay, yeah, just finishing off the last part of this small purport. Prabhupada is saying, but anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. There's a beautiful verse in the 3rd canto, 25th chapter, text 27. I think this is, who's this? Yeah, I forget who's speaking to who, but here says, well, time is running off, so we'll skip the Sanskrit. It says, thus, by not engaging in the service of the modes of material nature, but by developing Krishna consciousness, knowledge and renunciation, and by practicing yoga in which the mind is always fixed in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one achieves by my association, Krishna is saying, in this very life, one achieves my association in this very life, for I am the Supreme Personality, the Absolute Truth. So, just to summarize this particular verse and purport, anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord, under a bona fide spiritual master, becomes glorious. And anyone who refuses to do so, he gets compelled to act under the modes, and his future is very dark, as Prabhupada mentioned. Thank you, devotees. I will stop here, and I will request for any Any questions, any reflections, any corrections, any more realizations, please? Hare Krishna. Seema Mataji, you are unmuted. Were you trying to say something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Seema Mataji.
Yes, I've got a question.
Yes.
Earlier on you were talking about that if someone engages in Krishna consciousness and do a little bit of bhakti, no matter how much does he do, and it doesn't get invested. But what happens if someone is in Krishna consciousness and then they just kind of fall down and just start to be in a mode of passion or ignorance? So what happens to them?
Yes. So yeah, thank you for raising the question, Seema Mataji. So this is the point. The point is that whatever steps he's taken, any small steps he's taken in devotional service, that is never lost. As I was explaining before, that is never lost. So even temporarily he's fallen down, and that temporary period can be a long period, doesn't matter. But one day he will go back and start that devotional service again. So depending on how much devotional service one has done, it is explained in the, I believe it's the 6th chapter, where it says, yeah, Prapya Punya Kitam Lokan, Ushitva Swaswati Sama, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe, Yoga Prashna Pijayate. So he says that an unsuccessful yogi, so this is the person that you are mentioning, Seema Mataji, because a yogi, even if somebody is just a little bit of devotional service, he is still a yogi. So an unsuccessful yogi, it is said in that verse, he spends, first of all, because of his devotional service, he's first of all transferred after this life to the heavenly planets. So he enjoys in the heavenly planets for many, many years. And then after that, he takes birth in a righteous family or in a family of rich aristocracy, that purport says. So somebody who's done a little bit of devotional service, he gets a chance again in those families to continue his devotional service. So that's the point. That service is never lost. Prabhupada says, as we read today in one of the purports, that if you've done 1%, next life you start from 2%, not from 0. So that is never lost.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Joli Mataji.
I'm just thinking about the best state to be is humility. And when you're in that state, you would not have any desire even not to be born again. So if you are actually saying you're thriving not to be born again, is because the level of a pure devotee, you're actually thriving to. You're actually making a conscious effort. You're developing desire to receive this gift. I'm not sure about. I'm a bit confused, because when in pure devotional service, you would not want to. You wouldn't be even thinking about reborning or not reborning, would you? Because you are so humble in your work. You're not wanting anything to get to a place that is better than being reborn. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Let me try and repeat what I understood from your question, Joli Mataji. I think you're saying that in a pure devotional service state,
yes,
the devotee actually is not even thinking about the fact that he wants to go back home, because he's so humble and he's so
yes,
selfless that that devotee is not even thinking about going back to the spiritual world, right?
that's right. Because if he's that humble, he would get there anyway.
Exactly. That's the point. So very nice point you're making, though, that look, as pure devotees, we are pure
Sorry.
devotees. So right now, we can have all kinds of desires. But in a pure devotional state, when we reach that prema bhav, when we're in the prema bhakti stage, we will not be thinking that I want to go back home, back to Godhead. We will be thinking, I want to serve the Lord, my Lord, wherever you put me, I want to serve you.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, but the point, Joli Mataji, the biggest point here to understand is that if you are at that stage, you are already liberated.
That's right. Yes.
You are Jivan Mukta, as I say. Jivan Mukta, which means doesn't matter which condition of life, if you are in the prema stage, you are already liberated.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have any fear then.
Exactly. You won't have any fear, and you are only here for Krishna's purpose. Krishna is keeping you here to spread his glory. And once you've done your work, a natural end effect of that position is that you will go back to the spiritual world. Not that you want to, particularly, but you will. That's the point, right? But even once you're here, you are Jivan Mukta. You are already liberated.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Because
I think you were saying that all of us are in that stage that we don't, we're practicing good devotional service, but that I don't feel that I am.
Yeah, so
totally.
I must rephrase that. I shouldn't say all of us. I should say
no, sorry.
I'm certainly not. I think some of you may well be on that position. I certainly am not. So,
sorry, I don't mean to be challenging, but it's to do.
No, it's good.
I just want to clarify the thought and how to follow the path. Obviously, thank you, Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jolly Mataji.
Thank you.
What's your phone number?
I'm talking. 077.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay, so we had two. So let's have us. I had a male voice. I don't know who it was, but let's get ladies first. Mataji's first. Palika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I just have a little question. Now we are praying so much for. We are all praying for Pankaj Hari Prabhu.
Yes.
But there was a question in the early morning lecture in Mayapur to the devotee who was giving class. I said, don't we have full faith in Krishna, but Krishna will do whatever necessary for the pure devotee, to have, or either he leaves or carry on with his service. So why the rest of the devotee have to keep on praying to Krishna? So what would be your answer?
Very good point, Palika Mataji. Yes, that's a good point. So, when it comes to a pure devotee, and like Pankaj Angri Prabhu, he would be right up there, right, in terms of pure devotees. Yes. And we would think that, yes, Krishna has plans for him, and Krishna, he's doing the best that is for him. Krishna needs him somewhere else, then he will go. Krishna wants him to continue with his service. Krishna will make him well. And this is a dilemma. I mean, we all went through when my dear student Bhakti Charu Maharaj was going through the same situation too. So the point here is that, yes, on one side, on one hand, you do have to have that faith that Krishna will do the best for his pure devotee, right? And materially speaking, we may see it as a negative thing, but we know that Krishna it is all good, right, for a devotee. One thing, I think it was in the Dimya Maharaj, was it one or the other Maharajas, when he was talking to us at the time when Maharaj after left, actually towards the last days when he was still there and he was quite serious. He said that if Krishna wants him to recover and continue giving us his association, it will be glory for us.
Yes.
But if Krishna wants him to, he's talking about Bhakti Charu Maharaj, if Krishna wants him to wrap up his pastimes and go back and continue his service somewhere else, that's the glory to Bhakti Charu Maharaj.
Yes.
Right? So like that. So that is fine. We have that thing. But at the same time, Vaishnava is always compassionate. And from our compassion, we would also we should also beseech Krishna, to do the best. And actually, most of our prayers would be to please make him well again, because we want his association. So that is that's a selfishness. That's the greed that we have, lolium, that we want to associate. We don't want to lose pure devotees. So that is also okay. Right?
Yeah, I remember Srila Prabhupada, when he was very ill once, he asked devotee to pray to Krishna. He said, if you desire so,
Yes.
if you desire so, please
Exactly.
help our spiritual master
Absolutely.
to recover.
Exactly.
I think that's what I kind of came to my mind, that we have to see not please you do it if you desire so. I think
Exactly. Absolutely.
that's the important thing to say, if you desire so. Yeah.
Very good point. Yes.
Thank you, Mukunda.
Thank you. Thank you.
Prabhuji, sorry. Why would we want to bring somebody or save somebody in the material world when they're destined anyway? So I just
You see, yes, Jolly Mataji, you're right. So if you are in a pure devotional stage, you would know. If you're at that stage, you would actually know that that person is now on its way, and it's fine for him to go and all that. But most of us are not there. Most of us are, especially when it comes to devotees, we want the association. We don't want that devotee to go.
Yes, that's right.
But
we're causing more suffering to that person, aren't we?
Sure, absolutely, yes. But so, again, when you're talking about normal people, that really applies, that we are causing. So, for example, my mother-in-law is 91 years old, and she's been in and out of hospitals recently. So, I say to Padma Manini, look, I know it's your mother, and you always, we are so attached and all that. But the point is, we should be now praying to Krishna. Obviously, if you desire, just take her away quietly, nicely, without giving us too much suffering, because she's 90 years old. She's not good. Her quality of life is not going to improve. So like that, right? But the point is, yes, when it comes to devotees, we want them around. Also knowing that even if they are in this life, even if they stay here with us, they're still going to be liberated, like we were saying earlier, right?
That's right. Yeah.
They're not in any different position, right? So it's slightly different for devotees, pure devotees.
Yeah. I mean, I've experienced relatives who are very, very attached to their loved ones, and they're shaking them to come back alive. And they do, they come back alive, but the doctors sometimes have to step in and say, just let them go. Even the doctors nowadays are thinking that way, which is, it's amazing.
Yes.
But they're there to save lives, but at the same time, they know how far their condition is.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah.
Thank you. I was part, just like 2 or 3 months ago, I was part of I was sent by the temple to be part of an interfaith conference about the end of life situations, and there was all different faiths there, and there was one particular faith I now forget, because it was one of the minor faiths, and I thought it was quite touching what the person said. What he said that was, they had in the priests, like in our case, when somebody is terminally ill, the chaplain would go and just read the Bhagavad Gita or do some prayers or whatever, right? But they actually, he went through a particular set of things they speak in the ears of that person who's passing away. And one of the things that he was saying to him was, it's time for you to go. Please let go. Please let go of
That's
everything.
right.
And actually literally pushing the soul away.
Mm.
And I thought it was quite amazing.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
I think it's called The Last Rites, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so the last rites in different faiths are so different, right? But in that particular faith, the last rites was actually to speak to the person loudly to ask him to leave. To nicely to say to him that, look, you must now detach yourself from everything that you're thinking right now. Just they were not. It wasn't one of those personal faiths. So they weren't talking about God. They were talking about just let go and follow wherever you know your soul is taking you, kind of thing.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vaishnava Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mukunda-Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Ajay Mukunda. Sorry, yes, you spoke earlier.
That's all right. I was wondering the first line of the translation. So under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction. Is Krishna saying that, explicitly saying that he has put Arjuna under illusion? All of this is because of Krishna.
Yes, so we do know that. We do know that Arjuna is a liberated soul, and he just comes to play his pastime with the Lord in different incarnation or different whenever Krishna goes in any universe. Arjuna is always there with him. So yes, we do know, and that's why the kind of questions Arjuna is asking is on our behalf, and we do know that it's because Krishna has covered him by his Yogamaya. See, if Krishna covers us, the mere mortals, it'll be we're covered with Mahamaya. But Krishna covers his devotees, pure devotees, with Yogamaya, so that they act as if they are bewildered. But yes, I think you're right, that point is made here as well, that Krishna is saying that, look, you are.
That's what I understood about being put on illusion, not Krishna saying explicitly, but it occurred to me that this is what Krishna is saying.
Yes, good point. There's good reading between the lines there. Yes, Krishna is saying that you've been put into illusion by me. Now it's time for you to come out of it.
I understood the verse, but I was digging deep, and I don't know whether I've come to another a view, maybe wrongly. But the second line, does it mean that if Krishna didn't say what I wanted to say, Arjuna will act irrespectively, or is that a wrong view to take?
So we say, second line says, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same. Yeah, that's the line. And sorry, what was your proposition?
I was just a thought occurred to me that if Krishna didn't sort of say the whole of the Gita, then would he have acted even as a Kshatriya, would have fought regardless?
No, so yeah, that's the point. You see, Arjun he put his Gandhi bow down. He was sweating. He decided not to fight. So if it wasn't for Krishna, at that particular moment, he would not have fought, right? But the point is, Krishna is saying here that by your born of your own nature, you will act all the same, meaning that as a Kshatriya, you can't go and live in the forest like a mendicant. So even if you went to the forest, within a few days, you will get bored of it, you'll come back, and then you start fighting again, right? So a Kshatriya always will remain a Kshatriya because that's your nature. You're born of that nature. You can't reject it.
Okay, I mean, sometimes I look into things and I come to various conclusions, and a thought occurred to me that he would have fought irrespectively.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. It's very good to actually go deeper and then really do all this, and it just gives you different angles. Thank you so much. Devotees, is coming up to 9 o'clock. Thank you all so much. Once again, please do look after yourselves. Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Prabhuji. Bye.
Thank you, devotees.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.